Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Buckeyes of all ages, you are now tuning into episode 1 of the Boomcast. Introducing your host, we have NFL vet, Buckeye Legend, Mr. Daniel Boom Herron. And joining him is the Boom Squad. We got Mr. Corey Gregory.
Yeah.
Over here, we got the Tyler Sports Zone, Mr. Tyler Treadway, Mr. Tyler T. Lover. Here at the Doghouse, I'm the graphic gangster Cole Susak. To my right is the king of Web3 Trayvon the Air. And today, we got special guest. We got Buckeye Legend running back, Mr. Beanie Wells. The Boomcast is brought to you by Master Muscle and Sam Adams Beer. Let's go to the show.
Hey, welcome to the first episode of the Boomcast. Let me hit y'all with a few stats real quick. We got the man in the house today. 3,382 rushing yards. Dog. 6th all-time rushing in Ohio State history. Dog. 3-0 against Michigan. Dog. All-American. Dog. And first-round draft pick. Dog. Mr. Chris.
There he is.
Beanie Wells. Welcome to the show, Beanie. Hey.
Man, I appreciate you guys. That was a hell of an introduction.
Right?
From the start of the show to introducing me, that's a hell of an introduction.
We've been excited.
I've been practicing 2 days straight on this. I'm here in my car.
That was super dope, man.
So listen, first off, it's great to have you here. Obviously, my man to the right here, we want to be able to get part of your story out that maybe people don't know, right? We've chopped it up multiple times, but I think along the way we're going to have some great questions. We're going to catch up with what's going on. We're going to do a little bit of current stuff. And welcome to the Boomcast. My brother, take it away.
Hey, man, everybody, welcome to the Boomcast. Beans, I appreciate you, man. Love you, brother. This is going to be great, man, and thank you for being here. Man, we're going to go back, though, man. I mean, obviously, big-time guy, #1 running back in the country coming out of high school. Man, just talk to us about that. Like, how was that experience knowing that you, like, were the guy, like, the guy?
You know, I think initially, it wasn't anything that was in my mind. 'Cause, when you're going through the process, you don't take time to look back and really absorb the moment and understand where you actually are. But, now that I'm an adult, I can go back and look at it. Man, it was a crazy time.
Right.
I mean, I think, you have the Tom Flemings of the world, all those recruiting pundits, our guy, Gary, rest in peace to Gary, with the Ohio Bucknuts. All of those guys coming to the high school, interviewing you, and you're getting an opportunity to be ranked. And you see all these crazy names, these guys at these big high schools, and to be ranked at the top, man, I think that was, one of those deals that was kind of surreal to me now looking back. It was an exciting moment at the time for sure.
Yeah. You kind of spoke on the whole recruiting process. I mean, I kind of know. I mean, obviously, with us being really good friends, I kind of know about the whole situation of you actually committing to USC. Kind of just talk about that a little bit. I mean, how was that experience?
Did you just trying to go to LA, Beanie, or what?
So it was crazy. This was at a crazy time. This is when USC was winning a bunch of national championships.
Sure. Plus, Pete Carroll's a dog, bro.
Pete Carroll's a beast. You got Matt Leinart, you got Reggie Bush, you got Dwayne Jarrett.
Yep.
What was
Lindell
that?
White.
Lindell White. I mean, they had a bunch of guys.
Cushing, that jackass dude who played safety. I mean, they were stacked. Taylor Mays,
They were stacked.
Bro, so this goes even before Taylor Mays. It's like Darnell Bean type guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a crazy team out there. But at this point in time, I was committed to Ohio State. My mom and dad told me I should take my visits, just to take one visit, not visits, take one visit just to go and see somewhere else. And I chose USC. Mind you, USC had been recruiting me, but they weren't a team that was like high up on my radar. I get out there to Los Angeles and, I don't know if you guys remember the name, Freddie Davis. Freddie Davis was the #1 player in the state of Ohio, I think in 2004. So him and Ted Ginn were like neck and neck who was going to be the #1 guy. Fred ended up going to the University of Southern California, but he did it kind of sneakily. Left overnight, right before signing day. He boats on a private jet at the time, so this was like unheard of. Private jet, he ends up there. I think it was a private jet. I think that was how the story went.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just rumors of the private jet.
But I'm sure it was a private jet. He's #1.
But Freddie D ended up leaving overnight. Nobody knew where he was going to school at, and it ended up being USC.
Yeah.
And Fred ended up being, my main host, but we're getting a chance to kick it with, Dwayne Jarrett. Him and DJ were best friends at the time. We go to him and Matt Liner's house, and I probably shouldn't be saying this stuff on camera, but these dudes are living like in a penthouse.
Yeah.
Like,
You can kind of say it now.
I think it's all right.
There's no issue now, but these guys are living in the penthouse in Hollywood, which was crazy at the time. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a little brief moment where Matt Liner almost kind of got in trouble for receiving improper benefits. At least they thought.
Yeah.
He had a crazy car.
They almost caught him.
They almost got him. And that car that he had was a Hummer.
Okay.
I remember you guys. I know y'all remember the Browns.
Yeah.
Matt Liner had a Hummer as well.
Same story.
In Hollywood, same story. The condo was plush.
Yeah.
So I'm getting a chance to be around those guys, be around the Reggie Bushes of the world, and just seeing the access in which they had in Hollywood was
Are you
crazy.
thinking, like, I'm trying to get some of this?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, that's what hey, coming out the trailer, I'd have been thinking the same thing. Like, yo,
Man,
where do I sign up for this?
Right.
They were legit celebrities in L.A. There was no pro team in L.A., no pro football team in L.A. at this time. So they're winning a bunch of national championships. You got the who's who at the games. I'm like, shit, I can get used to this lifestyle real quick. I'm from Akron, Ohio. And mind you, this is my first time on a plane.
Yeah.
My first time on a plane going to LA.
Time out.
Yeah, my first time out. And, as a young 17-year-old kid going and experience that as your first time.
Because there was no pretty girls out there.
Girls.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's some women coming to them games, boy.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, everything that, you could, have to entice a 16, 17-year-old kid, they had out there.
Yeah.
And so, I'm out there enjoying myself. The next day, I have breakfast with Pete Carroll in Malibu. And we're, at this restaurant and overlooking the ocean. And I'm like, shit, Coach Carroll, I'm committing here.
I said I love you real quick. I mean, oh my God.
I'm coming to USC. And I called my mom and I called my dad. I let him know, hey, I'm not going to – I was committed to Ohio State. So I'm not going to Ohio State. I'm going to decommit from the Buckeyes, and I'm going to commit here to USC. My dad laughed. Give that chuckle.
Get your ass back to Ohio.
Didn't even say that. Just passed it to my mom directly. My mom said, no, you about to get on the plane and you about to come back to Ohio. So you can pass the phone over to Coach Carroll. And I don't know what she said to him, but, his face kind of, looked a certain way. And, that was the end of that. So it was a real brief commitment to USC because my mom wasn't having it. My dad wasn't having it. And obviously I think I made the best choice. But shit, I mean –
Well, think about
living in LA would have been nice.
Yeah,
how much slipping up could have happened being that far away from the family, and your parents knew that.
Exactly.
I mean, come on.
100%. I mean, I was a young kid. I wasn't like a wild kid, but nonetheless, when you're away from home, things can happen. And in Los Angeles, when you have that type of access in which they did, a lot can really happen.
Yeah.
So I think I made the best decision, obviously going to Ohio State to where my parents can come see me play on a regular basis.
Yeah.
They can come down and experience some of what I was going through. But I still think in the back of my mind sometimes about USC and the what ifs.
You painted a great picture for the audience, though.
Man,
Thank
I
you.
hope so.
I mean, obviously you commit to Ohio State. Freshman year, you get on the field. You're very, very active, but you had the opportunity to play for Coach Tressel, and you also had the chance to play with Troy Smith, a guy that won a Heisman. Not everybody gets that opportunity to play with the guy, that wins the Heisman.
Right.
Just kind of speak on that and just how Troy was in the locker room, and his leadership, the whole nine.
First on Troy, man, Troy was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Troy was he was crazy athletic.
Yeah.
He wasn't like a burner, but he was fast enough. When I'm talking about a guy that can make you miss in a hole, people think Braxton Miller, right? Braxton is Braxton. Braxton is different.
Yeah.
But Troy had that real quick. His footwork was insane, incredible. And then he was just the ultimate leader. He was the guy that players gravitated towards, and you wanted to be around him because you knew in big moments he was going to rise to the occasion.
You could bet on him, bro.
Exactly. I mean, he was going to get everything out of you, and you knew – when you were in the trenches, this is a guy that you want in your foxhole with you because he's going to go to war, and you're probably going to come out victorious because of him. Yeah. So Troy was insane, man. His work ethic was crazy. The way he can throw the ball, still to this day, there's never been a quarterback that I've seen at Ohio State that can throw the ball like Troy Smith. And that's, you go through the C.J. Strouds, Justin Fields, RP, Dwayne Haskins. I mean, it's multiple guys. None of them can throw the ball like Troy. I'll put him up against anybody. If Troy had the offense that these guys had today,
come on, man,
wouldn't be close. And that's no slight to these guys, right? I mean, because those
just
guys
how talented he was.
Exactly. It's how talented he was and how much before his time he was. You know, back then, there weren't a lot of dual threat guys going and being productive in the NFL.
True.
Because one, the NFL offenses weren't as adaptive as they are right now. You know, you look at it, you know, the Kyler Murrays and those guys. To me, in my opinion, Troy Smith is way better than the Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Without question, because he can throw the ball, he run when he had to, and he could make the right decisions.
I was at the 1-versus-2 game. I'll never forget it. And
I was there too.
Dude,
my senior year of high school.
It's unbelievable because that was 06, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
06.
So, like, you knew he was up for the Heisman. Huge game at home. He comes out, you know, and yes, I get goosebumps thinking about it. The place was on absolute fire, and he delivered. So that's the thing, like the big players delivering in the moment when they have to, which is why he kept doing that, which is why y'all believed in him so much.
Right.
It's just
Beanie, so I heard that before that big game, because that was your freshman year, right?
Yep.
That Troy sat you down before, like, you and a bunch of other players, and basically said, like, this is the game where, like, you can, like, stamp that you're, like, an Ohio State legend.
Yeah, I mean, so the night before the game, Troy Smith and Antonio Pittman were roommates. And me and Pitt were cool. That's one of my brothers, I mean. But we were super tight. I ended up going in their room and just chopping it up with him and Troy. And Troy kept telling me, you know, if you make a big play in this game, you got an opportunity to etch yourself in Ohio State history forever and be remembered as a Buckeye legend forever, because there's never been a 1-2 game, and then this game is just that important.
Yeah.
If you go out and make a big play and we win this game, you got a chance to be one of the greats, and people to always revere you here in Columbus, Ohio. And he wasn't lying, man.
And he understood that then, big time, which a lot of guys don't.
Right. And I think now when you go look at the teams that we had the past couple of years, they didn't beat Michigan the past few years, but I just think guys maybe don't understand the importance of the rivalry now opposed to back then. And it's a little bit different too. A bunch of guys on the roster now aren't from Ohio, so you don't have a lot of those homegrown guys necessarily to be able to understand it and grow up and have looked at the rivalry the entire
Cole
lives.
said that he thought that was part of the problem, that, you know, maybe it didn't feel, because I was at it this year, it didn't feel the same. And not because I'm trying to be an old head. I've been to every Ohio State Michigan game at home since I got married on Ohio State Michigan weekend. That's what me and my wife do as our anniversary. We go to the game.
Right.
And so it felt different this year. But I think it may be because 20% of the guys is from Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, if you look back in the past, there was a lot of guys who are true Ohio State guys. Like, they grew up watching the game. But now I think with them bringing back, like, Laurinaitis and stuff into the locker room, I think that's going to come back. So I think we're going to see, like, a whole different story here soon.
So when Troy says this to you, you're young. It's your freshman year, right? Did that – obviously you balled out, but, like, did that raise you up or did that make you more nervous? Because that puts a pressure from the guy saying, Beanie – here's that, you know what I'm saying?
But that raised me up, man.
Yeah, okay.
I was always a person that was, one, just excited to play football, and then two, to play in big games. That's what I dreamed of.
That's what you signed up for.
100%. That's why you go to Ohio State, to play in games like that. So when you got a guy of his magnitude telling you that ain't doing nothing for me, just juicing me up. Amped up. I can't wait for game time. So, and my freshman year I had a little bit of a fumbling problem, right?
Okay.
So the fact that he's telling me this before the game, and then that Coach Tressel, you know, would tell me certain things throughout the whole week, that showed me that they still had confidence in me, regardless of the fumbling. They knew I could make plays, and, you know, that shit juiced me up, man.
There's something about speaking that confidence into a young guy like that when there's a moment coming, he knew exactly what he was doing.
For sure, 100%.
That's awesome. Great
it's
insight
important
there.
That was a great question too, man.
Yeah.
Great question.
So you spoke about Pittman a little bit. I'm curious, like, what were some of, like, the things that you learned from Pitt? Because obviously, if you playing behind him, like, there got to be some things that you
Pitt's
picked up
such
from
a dog
that.
too,
like,
bro.
Like, I was watching the highlights, dude. You hit the spin move nonstop. Like, was that Pitt in your ear, or, like, where'd that come from?
I think that was just an instinctual thing.
Okay.
That spin move, but you know, what did I learn from Pitt? Man, Pitt was a straight up grinder.
Yep.
Always
Still
has
is.
been. Always has been his entire life. And when you talk about a guy that, you know, doesn't always necessarily get the credit that he deserves from the Ohio State Buckeye backs and where he ranks and how people view him, I think people obviously love him, but I think he should be a lot higher on certain people's lists because of what he means. And then you go back to his storied career in high school. You know, Pitt is a guy that started off at Barberton, goes to Buchtel, and people, not in Akron, but people on a national scale always overlooked him. So when you got a guy that has that chip on the shoulder that's going to come to work.
So you got the underdog vibe.
100%. Going to come to work every day and give you everything you got and bust your ass 9 times out of 10. That's Pitt. And that's what I learned from him is that no matter what's going on around you, bring your ass to work and ready to work. So that's something that I definitely learned from Pitt.
He displays that every time he walks in his gym, too. That's just what he's about. And
100%.
for you being as talented and revered to see that as an example.
Right.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
That's a recipe for success.
Yeah, right? Because when talent meets talent, I think we've seen these clips from Inky, it's like even.
Right.
But when that talent has that on top of it, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
And that's what Pitt basically gave to you.
I mean, there's a fine line. I always say, well, not always say, we got it from like John Madden. He would always say there's a fine line between 3-13 and 13-3, and it's the small details. There's a fine line between greatness and being great and just being just a guy that has talent. It's the fine details. Are you going to work when nobody's watching? Are you going to do what it takes to get yourself to that next level, man? Yeah. That's certainly something I learned from Pitt.
Yeah, great question, Cole.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of speak on Tress, man, because obviously we learned so much from Tress, not just on the field but off the field, and just for real life. You know what I'm saying? But just kind of just speak on Tress, like what was like probably one of the biggest things that stuck with you, playing under Tress?
Man, it's a lot. Tress was the ultimate leader, the ultimate motivator, and I'm not even talking about just from a football standpoint, right?
Yeah,
Tress was a leader of men.
Yeah.
One thing that you knew, and I think just not only me, but I think parents knew, when he sat in the living room and you turned your kid over to him, you were going to be getting back a young man, a guy that was going to be prepared for life. Now, I mean, there are times to where certain guys we've seen that we had on our roster just for whatever reason it didn't pan out for them.
They didn't get
not football-wise, but for life in general. But for the most part, Coach Tressel was raising young men, and he was going to show you that he believed in you. And I think, like you just said, when you have young kids and you instill confidence in them and a belief in them that, you know what, I know that you can overcome. I know that you can go through this adversity and still bounce back. That shit speaks volumes and does volumes for a kid and just their personal growth.
And he's so calm and collected, bro.
Yeah.
Like he's like, oh, Tress got it.
Right.
Like it makes you, and I've been around him enough to kind of vibe with that. It's like the dude has just the right amount of swag.
Right.
He's a confident guy. He speaks confidence in the guys. He's calculated. It's like he's like how you want to act like and operate.
Oh, absolutely.
And so when I look at like him and Urban, like the swag of Urban, like he's like a movie star, rock star. I kind of like, but I want to be like Tressel because you just know what you get. It's like both of those guys are so interesting in their own way. But Tressel just gives you that calm, collected senator. I'm a winner. Like I love that man. The quiet time thing. He's awesome.
I mean, he definitely knows how to develop a person. But my biggest memory from Coach Tress is, one day I was in his office. Two things I'm gonna give you. Two stories. One day he pulled me in his office and he's like, Beanie, man, who do you want to be? And he said, more importantly, what do you want to become? And, I'm telling him I want to be this great football player. I want to have all the success. And, he you see that big, we had a big picture. I don't know if it's still there in the Woody of Woody Hayes, on the practice field. You see that picture of Woody out there? And this shit like blew my mind because you never hear Tress talk like this. He's like, man, I love Woody. I respect him. He's one of the greatest. But the hell with Woody. I want to be the fucking best to ever come through Ohio State. So for all the humbleness that we see of Coach Tressel, he had that edge about him without question that he wanted to be great. So, he wants –
His expectation is –
his expectation is to be up here. Yeah, it's fine and dandy to, everybody to look at him, oh, this is the center and all that. But up underneath that cloth, he going to come for your
and
head.
And he would show that to you guys from time
100%.
to time.
I mean, from time to time, especially in a one-on-one setting.
Got it.
He want to come for your head because he want to be the best and revered as one of the best. So that's one story. And I was like, shit, Coach Tressel saying something like this?
Yeah. Juice you up more.
Without question. But I go back to my sophomore year to start the season. I had a shitty game versus, who was it? Youngstown State, right? I had a terrible game versus Youngstown State. And this is my first game as the starting running back at Ohio State. And I'm in the house the whole fucking week. I mean, I'm doing nothing but going to practice.
You ain't trying to show your face at the gas station.
Show my face. I'm like, this is Pitt had left. This is my chance right here. And I go out and I stink it up. this game. Next week I come out, I ball versus Akron. Next week we go out to Washington, I ball versus Washington. But it just wasn't there for Coach Trusser, right? He set me down, put me in his office. He threw out a Sports Illustrated, and P.J. Hill was on that Sports Illustrated. P.J. Hill was a running back at Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He said, Beanie, they're saying P.J. Hill is the guy. P.J. Hill is the best back in the Big Ten. I thought that was going to be you. What the hell is going on? And whatever is going on, you need to fix it. So he did that, and I'm pissed. Not pissed that he said that to me, but pissed like, oh, shit. People are really thinking there's another back in the Big Ten that's better than me. I'm about to light their ass up. And after that, man, I went and lit their ass up. That was that moment. So it was little things with Coach Tress. It wasn't about going out and embarrassing somebody in the public. We hear stories about, how Urban would be at practice. It wasn't about that. It was about finding a way to motivate a guy with you and me sitting right here, and we're going to get this thing done. Yeah. And, man, Tress was a hell of a motivator, man. Yeah. And like I said, it don't always got to be in an embarrassing fashion with certain people.
Or rah-rah type of stuff.
Right. He's just going to sit up there and tell you the real, and sometimes that realness is what's going to come across and what's going to resonate with a guy.
The visual of seeing the guy on there and then being like, pretty sure that should be you. And why ain't it?
Right.
Hey, straight to the point.
Come on, man.
Straight to the point. That's something I'll never forget in my life, man. It's that moment, because it was like, shit. I didn't want nobody else saying that anybody else was the best back in the Big Ten, let alone, man, in the country. And now I got my head coach, who is Coach Tressel's, been around the Maurice Claretts of the world, the Antonio Pittmans, the great players, and now he's like questioning it. That's how I felt, right?
Yeah. That's how he was trying to make you feel.
Right. Well, I couldn't have it.
Well, obviously, like later in that season at Michigan, this is the 14-3 game, and I remember watching this in like fourth grade or something like that. So obviously he trusted you then that you knew you were going to ball out, because you had 222 of the 279 yards total for the Buckeyes. It's 80%. In that entire game, you had 60% of the total yards in the entire game combined for Ohio State and Michigan. So, like, was that the game plan, or was that something that, like, he just saw you were eating? He's like, I'm just going to keep feeding you the ball.
So I think it wasn't necessarily the game plan, but we got up there. It was rainy and it was cold that day. And I remember before the game, he said, man, we're going to grind it out. And whatever that meant, I just was prepared to carry the damn ball. Because I knew we wasn't going to put the ball in the air a whole bunch, because it was too wet and it was rainy. And said we was going to grind it. So I'm thinking it's going to be a collective of us, getting the rock and going out there. He rode that motherfucker to the wheels. I wasn't complaining.
Put it on his back. That's good.
I was not complaining at all about that one.
No, hell no.
So when was it like, you felt and you knew like, okay, I'm the guy. Like, this my show now. Obviously, pit league.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, honestly, man, it was that spring, right? That spring, I came out, and I was lighting people's ass up in practice in the spring. And, I went down probably 2 weeks in the spring. I had an ankle injury. But even then, I was like, shit, this is my show. And I'm busting the defense's ass.
Which is good.
Yeah, I mean, we got, James Laurinaitis, Marcus Freeman, Malcolm Jenkins, a bunch of guys. I'm busting their ass in practice. And at this point, I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel it. I'm feeling myself. So at that point, I knew. But then, obviously, that game versus Youngstown State, you have a little bit of doubt that creep in your mind when you don't have a game in which you're as successful as you believe you should be. And I thought it was one of those deals where I'm pressing. You're just trying to make the big play, trying to show everybody who you are at that point. And
well, I mean, it's when you got all that pressure on you, you're the number one guy, you got to be the guy. You definitely going to try to press some things, because you want to make that big play. But you got to let the game come to you. You got to let the, you got to let the holes come to you. You know what I'm saying?
That's hard for a young running back to actually do.
That's what I'm saying.
Is allow the game to come to you and develop, let the offensive line and offensive plays develop. So it's hard.
Yeah. That same time when you started to feel like, all right, the confidence level that you are the guy, is that when you also start to think like, this is about to be my profession, I think. Like you hear stories of guys their whole life from 8, 9 years old, they're dominating, they're going to league, But when you start busting pros, you just ripped off pros in practice, and you guys got a top defense and you're owning them like that, you got to be then thinking like, shit, I'm about to do this against grown-ass men real soon.
Yeah. I think when you go to Ohio State, right, that's always like in the back of your mind.
Right?
It's like, I'm going to go pro and, football is going to be my profession. But when it starts coming to a realization, it's when you're able to do it versus the opponent, when you're able to do it on the big stage. And, I think a little bit in my freshman year, I kind of thought that, all right, this is going to be the reality of the situation. As long as I stay healthy, I'm probably going to be one of those guys, going to the National Football League. So early on in my career, I thought that, that was a possibility.
Well, I just know when you walk in the room, I think now I see the difference why I wasn't playing Division I football. Trying to tackle your ass, and the way that you moved back then was so crazy.
Right.
They really hadn't seen a back moving like that at two. What'd you play at 235?
So
240?
between 235 and 245.
So I just got a question. Was there do you remember getting hit at all? Was there anyone who actually hit you? Because I was watching highlights. Mm-hmm. Every fucking person was just bouncing off you. So do you remember actually getting hit hard and you're like, oh shit?
So not hit hard, but I remember.
Not really, Cole.
Not getting hit hard. But I remember a guy just being a fucking nuisance, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The player that sticks out in my mind who was the biggest nuisance for me was Navarro Bowman.
Okay.
Dude was a beast.
Yeah, he was.
A beast. I mean, and Navarro wasn't, in college, he wasn't crazy big, but just around the football.
Mm-hmm.
We played him in 07 here, what was it? Maybe 08 here in Ohio Stadium, and I had 22 carries for maybe 60 yards. This is the game we lose, the 4th and 1 when TP decides to take it around the edge. He fumbles it. I had 22 carries for 60-some-odd yards.
He was all over the field that game.
Navarro Bowman had 22 tackles that game. I'm like, what the fuck? I just couldn't get away from him that game. I could not get away from him.
He was stalking you, wasn't he?
Oh, bro, it was ridiculous. And then I get drafted the following year to Arizona, right? I get a year in between away from him. His ass gets drafted to San Francisco.
I was going to say, he played at San Francisco, right? So now he's at
same thing at that level.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get away from this dude for whatever reason. I mean, he was that good, though. Just understood the game of football, knew how to be around the ball, knew how to make the big play. Wasn't about making the boom, right?
Yeah.
Not making the big tackle, but just making the tackle. That was him.
Yeah. So obviously, you have a great career at Ohio State. Obviously, the combine just happened.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of guys from Ohio State, do well. Kind of just talk about your experience at the combine. How was it? Because I know for me, that shit is stressful.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't know all the different meetings that you have to have. You got to get up, take a random drug test at 5 o'clock in the morning. Then they want you to go run a 40. Kind of just get the people what they don't know.
I mean, to me, the combine is the dumbest shit in the world. I'm gonna be honest, seriously. And excuse my language, but it really is. It's ridiculous. I mean, you're asking these guys to go out and to have all of these different meetings, which I understand that.
Yeah.
If you want to just do sole meetings there, I'm okay with that. Go through a medical check with a bunch of different doctors. That part is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. And then go out and work out and supposed to be able to perform at their best while just going through the rigors of the interviews, the rigors of being poked and prodded, going through 20 different x-rays for a multitude of teams, a bunch of different MRIs, and then guys trying to play these psychological games with you in these meetings.
Right.
That isn't the way football is going to be played. I mean, when you play football, you're in a comfortable environment, right? You practice throughout the week. You go home the night before, you prepare, you take care of your body, and then you go out and you deliver on the football field. So they're asking you to go and be in an uncomfortable situation, and they're not asking you to do that when it's time to play on Sunday. So I don't get the parallel as to why they believe that they should do it that way and operate that way. I think it's ridiculous. I could see in the next couple of years that thing coming to an end with the more guys that say, you know what, it isn't for me. The higher profile guys saying, I'm gonna
they
step
ain't
away
running,
from
they're
it.
only doing this. Or
Right.
that.
I mean, you seen a couple guys. You had a couple guys that blew some hamstrings this year. Some of the bigger guys. But it's like, why do you have offensive linemen running the 40 when they're 6'8", 350 pounds?
Yeah.
Like,
Makes no sense.
Come on, man.
Is like pro day at the facility? Is that better? Is that more realistic?
Probably more comfortable.
So,
right?
It's much more comfortable, much more realistic. And I get the combine for guys who necessarily won't get the eyes and ears at their pro days. So you understand for a certain demographic of guys. But when you go to the big schools, I mean, it's not needed. I mean, at Ohio State, you're going to get the same amount of coaches, scouts, GMs that'll be at the combine.
True.
Yep.
So it's really no need for you to go out there and perform at the combine. Outside of now, you know, you're going to have people kind of naysaying, oh, this guy didn't want to do it at the combine, which it don't make sense. It didn't make sense for me, for C.J. Stroud to go and throw at the combine. I mean, they wanted to see it, and he did well, so fine and dandy, but it wasn't a necessity. So for me, I hated the combine.
Did you do all events too, Beanie?
So I went to the combine. I ran the 40. I benched, and that was it.
How many times
broad jumped.
How many times you benched 225?
I want to know that too.
I think I did 24 times at the combine.
I was saying because I seen you hit 315 for like 10, like it was a joke out there before.
Literally, I could have kept going at the combine.
I quit at 24.
This is an average, a good number for a running back. So
Yeah, I mean that's another thing. It's like once you get to 20,
Yeah.
It's like, what more you need to see?
I'm strong.
Yeah.
If you watch my film, you can see I'm strong.
Yeah.
Why I need to go over and hit 30?
Well, you want to blow a peck out or something, like because you're doing 37.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense.
Yeah. I mean, so obviously, you know, you did the combine, you had the pro day and all that. Obviously, you did good enough to get drafted in the first round.
Right.
Kind of talk about that. I mean, you get. I know, being your friend, you know, we thought you were gonna go top 10.
Yeah. Yep.
You ended up going 31 to Arizona. Just kind of talk about, you know, how you felt about that, like the experience, like the whole.
I was like literally devastated.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
All up into the day of the draft, you know, I thought I was going to Jacksonville.
I was gonna say, where did you think you was?
I thought I was going to Jacksonville.
Because I remember at pro day.
Yeah, their running back coach was like, "Oh, we taking him." I mean, there's no question. He didn't even want me to run the 40 after I ran my 40 at pro day. He's like, "Don't even do it again. Don't even do nothing else. We drafted you." So you know, I'm under the impression they had.
Who they draft instead?
They ended up drafting an offensive lineman.
Okay.
So at one point in time, it was the two-headed monster, Fred Taylor and Maurice Jones-Drew.
Yep.
And Freddie T had just went on the year before. I think he went to the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
They wanted that two-headed monster back. Like, we're taking you. So I'm like, all right, cool. Worst case scenario, I'm going to go here. I meet with Cleveland. And Cleveland's like, well, I mean, you're on our radar. And then Seattle, I was really high on their radar too.
Yeah.
So I had no idea I would be dropping all the way to 31. So draft day comes about. You know, we get through the first 5 picks. Cleveland picked number 5. They end up dropping out to like number 16 at the time. And I'm like, all right, number 9, I'm not going to Cleveland right there at 5, but I'm expected to go to Jacksonville. Jacksonville comes by at 9. They draft somebody else. Shh. All right, Cleveland's at 16. That's my ceiling right there.
Yeah.
Cleveland ended up dropping back in the draft, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then I get to 31, and it was crazy, right? Because it was a couple of teams I necessarily didn't want to go to. And one of the teams ended up being the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reason being is because, one, the Arizona Cardinals, they were a passing team. It's like, man, they don't need me there. I mean, I need to go somewhere that's going to run the football, run it early and often. I don't want to go necessarily where Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden is.
Yeah.
Weren't a great fit for me at all. But it was crazy because looking back, it was 2 teams I didn't want to go to. It was the Arizona Cardinals and it was the New Orleans Saints. And if you remember, we had bowl games in New Orleans and in Arizona. I was like, man, these are 2 places I really don't
You don't really
care to be and play here.
Yeah.
And then looking at it from a football standpoint, it just didn't necessarily make sense for the type of player that I was. I was like, yeah, I can go to any other teams but these 2. Arizona gets the 31st pick, and that's where I end up going.
So even with all that kind of feels, you still getting drafted to the NFL, right? So you're like, all right, well, I'm about to be a Cardinal. That feeling of, I mean, look, once I remember talking to you, you're like, even before I got drafted, my life was already a little bit different because you had some endorsements and some stuff that was cranking, you know, within the rules at that time, right? But it's like, once they say your name, no matter what number draft pick, your life's never the same again, Beanie, forever, and neither is your family's. So, like, that build up and actual realization has to be unbelievable, right?
Oh, 100%. You know, once, you know, I got over the fact that, oh, man, I didn't go to the teams I necessarily wanted to go to. Regardless, it was a dream come true. I mean, this is something I have been working for my entire life to get to the National Football League. So, you know, to be called and to be on TV, to be right there with my brother, my parents, siblings, and friends, I mean, it was surreal. obviously it's going to happen, but when it happens, it still hits a little bit different. So I was still pumped. And like you said, I mean, life was never the same. And, going to Ohio State, quite frankly, life was never the same for me. But, going into the National Football League to where you got this certain amount of money and then you got this prestige with the Shield being the National Football League. I mean, it's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Where was you at when you got that direct deposit?
Oh, man. So
that first check.
I didn't get a direct deposit. I got an actual check.
Okay.
Which was crazy. And I actually appreciated doing it this way. I didn't get like the big boatload out the gate, right? I think my first check from them was maybe $200,000.
Okay.
And I had already had over $1 million in the bank by the time I got the $200,000. So
he told me that in the gym one day. He's like, before I got the first check, I already had like $800,000 in the bank. I was like, okay.
So I got that, and it was cool, but it was.
No.
You're like, it's cool, but I got 800 already.
Now, did you set it up that way, like in your contract where you wanted it to be kind of like split up, or did you have it in a way where you could have got your?
So it wasn't necessarily something that I had talked about it being set up that way. I think it just happened. It happened. The payout structure just happened to be that way.
Gotcha.
And I was fortunate for it to end up being that way because when you're a young guy and you get a bunch of money, you tend to spend a lot of money quickly. And, I spent some money my first year, first 2 years in the NFL. So I was fortunate to get a lot of stuff on the back end.
Yeah. What'd you get? Like, what'd you buy?
So bought my mama a house.
That feeling, stop there for a sec.
Respect.
Unbelievable. Gotta be.
Dude, that was the best thing ever. Yeah. That was the best.
It would be hard
thing.
to press to have anything be better than that.
Right. I mean, the fact that you're going out and you're able, and I had younger siblings still living at home, right? So we come from not the best circumstance in Akron. So to be able to change the zip code of my family and put them in a better situation was incredible. And now we're living in a neighborhood to where, as a kid, we used to ride by and look at the lights, right? We would ride by this neighborhood and look at the lights at Christmas time. And now that I'm buying my mama a house here was a surreal and amazing feeling. For sure.
Shit done changed.
Oh, bro. It's changed for real. And, I mean, it's incredible to want to be able to say I was able to do it, but just the fact that you have the resources to be able to. I mean, so I bought my mama a house, car, bought my dad a car, and, I spent a lot of money on, dumb shit. Friends were traveling here, we're traveling there, buying siblings, this and that. So it was a good time, nonetheless.
What was the car?
I bought my mom a CTS, Cadillac CTS. And my dad, I think, like a Chrysler 300.
Oh, hell yeah.
And at that time, Chrysler 300s were the shit.
What? Hell yeah.
Respect, man.
That moment of your mom seeing the house for the first time, bro, I feel like that's probably got to be just like burnt in your brain, right?
So it's burnt in my brain, but for a different reason. It's like my mom didn't even give me the chance to go out and pick it out. She went and did it on her own. So I got to see the house
for the first time.
And she had already seen it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, I mean, obviously, what you played, 5 years in the league?
So 4, credit for 5. Yep.
Okay. So 4 years, 5 years. You had, I mean, to play 5 years is a blessing.
Right.
Most guys in the NFL, I mean, your goal is to get to your second contract. Obviously, you going in the first round, you made a pretty good amount of money.
Right.
Just kind of talk about that transition, though, from, Ohio State to the pros. Now you're going to the real world.
Yeah, let me slow you down a little bit there. So I just want to say, man, for any guy that's watching this, and just for people out there that's watching this, you hear the word like bust, or you didn't make it in the league. Well, when a guy signs a contract, whether it's a drafted contract, whether it's free agent, when you put on that NFL jersey or helmet, you are one of a very few individuals to be able to say that you were able to do it. So the hell with all of that shit.
Right.
I mean,
If you make it that one day, you ain't a fucking bust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're not a bust, or I mean, if you're a free agent and you don't even have the bust title, and people say, "Oh, you didn't make it in the league." So what? I did it.
Right.
Yeah.
You reached a pinnacle in which not many people will ever be able to say that they got the chance
When
to
people
do
are
it.
like, oh, that dude's a scrub. I'm like,
Right.
you're not a fucking scrub.
How?
He's on the roster.
Right.
Are you on the motherfucking roster?
Yeah.
So but I had to say that because you hear
Yeah.
a lot of times, where people, talk about bust. I was listening to one of the Kwame Brown podcasts, and people label him as a bust. This dude played multiple years in the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I mean, this.
I wasn't calling you a bust.
No. I was just speaking of.
Yeah, for sure.
He's just getting the clip for the gram, bro.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm getting it for the gram and for people that play the sport or a sport, and you make it to the highest of the highest. I mean, the highest of a company, right, is being the CEO running the shots. Not many people get an opportunity to do that in that field from the business standpoint, let alone the athletic standpoint.
Right.
But going back to your question, man, speaking of the transition, it was different. It was difficult too. I think for a long time, not only myself, but you talk to other former players, we all have this thought process that everybody's going to play 8 to 10 years, and then at the end of that, you're going to ride off into the sunset and maybe do some sports media stuff. But for the most part, live a great, comfortable life and do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's not reality. But for a young kid that's, 20 to 23 years old going into the draft, you can't tell them it's going to be any different.
Yeah.
Right.
So when that finally hits a lot of people, it's tough. A lot of guys have identity crisis, right? A lot of guys deal with different, depressions or deal with different anxieties. And a lot of it stems from not knowing what's next. Your life has become routine.
Yep.
Like from the time you're 8 years old, you knew, all right, I need to work out, I need to eat this, I need to go train, I need to play football. That's what you're doing for your entire life.
And you got that structure, man, with the coach, with the players, with your homies. Like, it's all there.
It's all structured.
Your whole
routine.
year.
Yeah, your entire year.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to go to class, you got to work out, you got to do this. And then you have coaches around you that's not letting you – you may step out of bounds, but not letting you step too far out of bounds, right?
Yeah.
So they're there to reel you back in. And when you step into the real world, once your playing days are over, it isn't like that anymore.
Yeah.
So there is no longer that structure that you once had, that routine that you once had. Now it's a free-for-all, and you're left to figure it out. I always say, man, it's like a cruise ship, right? A cruise ship, everybody's there. When you're playing, you're like a cruise ship. Everybody's there aboard having a good time with you, right? But the minute that cruise ship goes to dock, everybody gets off. The only people left on that cruise ship is the crew left to clean it and shine it up. But in this case, you are the cruise ship, so nobody's left on that cruise ship. You got to shine yourself up. Everybody's left.
Yeah.
So you got to figure shit out. And at times it can be difficult if you're a guy that doesn't surround yourself with the proper people, if you were a guy that didn't build the proper relationships, or screw all of that, if you just didn't have the know-how in your mind, it can be difficult. And, I think we've all faced those difficult times. I certainly have. I was a guy, I dealt with the depressions, I dealt with the anxieties. But fortunately enough, I was able to figure it out from a business standpoint. And I think that made my transition a lot easier and smoother than a lot of other guys.
Kind of explain how important it is for, not even just former players or players now, but just regular people in general, how important it is to work on your mental health. Like you said, you see a lot of guys who deal with depression, anxiety, all of those things. And just like myself, I know you get your help. Just kind of break that down, man, because
it's critical. It's critical. I mean, you see certain situations right out in public where guys, and you know that they're going through something.
Yeah. And
I know they're going through something because I was there. I went through it. I currently go through certain things, right? I mean, no life is going to be perfect. No life is going to be pretty. But it's so important because, to have somebody that you can go and talk to about something that you're going through that you may necessarily not feel comfortable talking to your wife about or a good friend about, because sometimes things could kind of be embarrassing, right? Or you feel like they're embarrassing. But little do you know, the same person that you're scared to talk to is going through the exact same thing that you're going through. But it's tough because you see it on a regular basis. You deal with it on a regular basis. But the thing is, we made the conscious decision to seek help for what we were going through, just to make the daily life better.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of guys that don't do that. And
Yeah.
it's unfortunate because a lot of guys don't even know where to turn,
Yeah.
and they feel like they're the only one that's going through whatever it is that they're going through.
Absolutely.
But it's not the case.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, as men, we're taught to be tough at all times. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to like say, okay, I'm gonna go get help.
Right.
Because at the same time, you just feel like I'm strong enough, I could deal with it. And for some guys that we know, it's been too late.
Right.
So people, get y'all help, man.
Well,
Do
think
what you
about
need to
this
do.
too. You're pulling the rug away from a structure that's been in place for years.
Right.
And I've always talked about one of the things, like, I really pride myself with my guys here in the mornings. Like, we have our practice times at 4 a.m. We got our game day, which is our meets, where the lights is on and you got to show up, which is what you guys had to do however many times a year. You've got your camaraderie, which is the locker room with the guys. And it's like all of a sudden that's pulled from you guys.
Right.
And on top of it, no one's doing this anymore. So the claps are done and all of that. You got to be well equipped, or it's going to be like a downfall. It's not possible not to be.
Right.
So going to seek it, creating other structure in your life that will keep those things moving. I just think that I know the content is up is up more now around the NFL guys, but every former player I've talked to, that's the thing. The rug was pulled out and they don't know what to replace it with. And so it's like, it's tough, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so hard. And a lot of people just expect you as a professional athlete, right? This guy was in the NFL. He has made this money. They expect you to have it figured out, which that ain't realistic. I mean,
Be some of the ones that have some of the biggest struggles.
so if you really break it down and you look at the numbers standpoint, I mean, you're talking to 23, a lot of guys, by the time they're 25, they're done playing football. What could a 25-year-old possibly tell me right now as I'm about to be 35? I mean, you can't tell me too much about life. So those guys don't have it figured out at that age. And I think a lot of times people overlook that. These are kids. They are kids they're kids with a blank check, right? Or a lottery ticket. And they're left to figure it out because a lot of times, even from a family dynamic, right, you become the leader now because you have the money.
Yep.
Now people are looking at you as the go-to.
Doesn't mean you got the leadership skills, though.
Exactly, 100%. Doesn't mean you have the leadership skills or even know how to lead. So a lot of guys are, they're coming into the game behind the 8 ball because you're coming from a situation that maybe wasn't the best at home, or maybe it was the best, but then obviously, you get the money, now you're looked at completely differently.
Yeah.
And now you're left to figure out things at a faster rate. Hopefully you're able to figure out things on a faster rate, but sometimes people don't figure out things at all until it's too late. So it's a tough dynamic, and I think the league could do it better. Not just the NFL, but I mean just any professional sports franchise could do better with equipping young people with the right resources to be able to deal with just life as it comes, because it ain't easy.
Sure. I think it's a good segment to go to the Boom Squad, get some questions, and then go to the what was the segment you got coming, Cole?
Bucky Nuts News.
We'll go to that, but I think piggybacking off of some of this, it'd be great for some questions for Beanie.
Yeah.
You want to start it off?
You guys got anything?
Yeah. So I want to talk on what you just talked about because a little bit of background. I trained a kid since the 5th grade, and he's a Westerville kid, and he looks up to you, right? He sees you at the games, and you just talked about being a positive role model. So there's a lot of kids, Central Ohio football is huge, right? There's a lot of kids going D1, and a lot of kids see the path that you paved, right? They see what you did, and they want to replicate that. What advice are you giving to them, or how are you being a positive role model? Because every time I'm at one of their games and you're there, they love it. It's like a big deal. It's a celebrity there. So what's that mean to you, and how are you kind of giving back?
You know what? It means a lot, one, that, they still revere me and look at me in that light, because I can tell you in high school, I don't know if kids, they were probably 3 or 4 years old. They're in high school now.
Yeah.
So a lot of what they're getting is from YouTube or parents, or, so I appreciate that. But, what do I do to give back? I mean, I'm going to be coaching a little bit at Westerville.
Hell yeah.
So
with Stan Jackson, right?
Yeah. Yep. So I'll be helping out a little bit over there when I can and get the opportunity to. But I just like being around young people. I like being around younger guys just to help encourage them about life and tell them. I mean, you can see a group of kids right now that, may look to have it all figured out or think they know what's going on or what it takes. But, having a guy like myself or, Corey or Boom around those young kids, say, hey, man, you need to tweak this. You need to do this a little bit differently. You got to be mindful of who you're hanging around because it can go left real fast. I appreciate that, and I enjoyed being able to do that for young guys, man. So for young guys that watch us, if you ever see me out in public, hey, pull me to the side. You feel like you want to say something and talk, I'll talk to a young guy all day long.
Yeah,
110%.
That's cool. Tyler?
Yeah, I was just going to say respect to both of you guys, not only asking that question and kind of breaking it down from your standpoint, because, you know, a lot of these, whether it's younger guys or just everyday people that might even be of your same age group that hadn't heard that before, you know, your celebrity status, star athlete, you mentioned everybody thinks maybe from the outside looking in, you just got everything buttoned up. You know what I mean? You're a professional and nothing's wrong with your life. So for you guys to talk about not only the importance of that, but also reference some of the things that you've had to, you know, what path you've gone down to try to tackle some of those things and make sure that yourself and your family's right. I just think that's a lot of respect for sharing that. People need to hear it.
Appreciate it.
Trayvon?
So you talk about like the transition once you finished football and like how hard it was basically then to find like that next career path. So like when you had to hang up the cleats and like that first day when you were sitting in your house and you're like, I'm done playing football. What was that like? What was that next move? What was like that motivating thing where you're like, all right, like this is what I'm gonna do? Or like, how long did you like sit there and you were like, what the fuck am I like doing now?
So I always knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into broadcasting. So literally the first call that I made was somebody you guys probably see on TV and probably seen for the past 20, 30 years was Dom Taberry. That was my first phone call, and he knew I had wanted to do it. To Dom and Moose. Moose was the old program director, you know, at 10 TV. So I made my first calls to them, and they're like, hey, man, come on Sunday. And so I did that for a couple of years, kind of learning the nuances of the business and how it works and how it operates, how to talk on TV.
Was that a weird transition for you, Beanie?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
No, I was passionate.
It seemed natural.
Yeah,
so,
I was passionate about it. I loved it. And, you know, it was something that I knew once my playing days were over, that's what I wanted to do. So it wasn't as crazy as a transition as one would think from that standpoint. But, yeah, that was my first call. I mean, I knew I had a plan, and I tried my best to execute that plan.
What made you like want to get into that?
Well, I mean, I think naturally, right, you see these guys that have these storied careers, and they end up on TV talking about the sport. And I just think I just idolized some of the guys that just did it before me.
Hell yeah.
And, you know, I thought that was a great way to stay connected to the game, keep a fresh face out there to the public, and just enjoy, you know, just talking about football.
Yeah.
Did you, and while you go back to Ohio State days, while you were at Ohio State, did you realize the magnitude of Buckeye Nation? It's hard, like, when I come across different guys, I try to, like, that's one of the things I bring up.
Yeah.
I've been talking to Boom about it since I met it. 100,000 people have been yelling, boom, every time you touch the football.
Right.
Like, to understand that the opportunity, if you stay in Columbus or around, that Buckeye Nation, especially when you deliver like you did, Beanie, you're always going to show love. Like that, when you go to a school like that there is massive opportunities of that. Did you understand that fully, like when you was there?
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't. I don't think a lot of guys do because you're so worried
you're
about you're living in the moment, right?
Yeah.
You're worried about, you know, getting the next pair of sneakers or going out or what we got to do at practice, something like that. You're not necessarily worrying about, you know, the longer perspective and, you know, what everything that it entails and how fortunate you are to be at a place like this with a fan base like this. And I think a lot of the opportunity, I mean, we talk about the opportunity that comes from, you know, being a Buckeye, and it doesn't have anything to do with the university from that standpoint, right?
Correct.
It's all about the association with the university, all the fans, all the people you meet.
The alumni is crazy.
The alumni. I mean, that's one of the things that I think is second to none about the University of Ohio State is the relationships that you're able to build outside of from the people at the university, from, you know, whether it's, I don't know, anything to do with the university. I mean, just the outside relationships that you are able to build from that.
Think about the rooms you can get in purely because you want to be in them.
Exactly.
To learn from a Schottenstein or whoever it is because you was able to, like, leveraging that is, dude, people try their whole lives to get in them rooms, and they can't.
100%.
But you can walk right in.
100%.
If you know, like, okay.
The right people.
Yeah,
and
of course.
You catch your nose clean, and the people have a certain amount of respect for you as a person. I mean, I think the opportunities can be endless.
Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yeah. Well, one question, like,
Sure.
what's so you said you were coaching, like, what else you got going, like, business wise?
You know, I'm a guy that's always like close to the vest, right? Because I don't necessarily, put out there. Obviously, I do real estate. That's something I've done for a number of years. I've been in the restaurant business for some time, trucking industry. So I do a bunch. I call myself a serial entrepreneur. So I'm always figuring out something to get into, whether it's the healthcare industry, something. I got my hands in.
It's creating lots of passive income. It sounds
right.
Yeah, I just always been a guy. I've always been super private in that regard.
Yeah,
right.
Nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, I do a bunch.
All right, sick. You guys
One of my
go?
favorite things Beanie said to me in the gym one time is, I want to be the guy worth X that no one knows. I said, well, I think everybody knows you, so I'll know you. They might not know what X is, though.
Right.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So
All right. Oh, wait, you go.
You want to go?
yeah, all right. So I'm sitting here, right, and you look like a defensive lineman, right? And I'm reading these statistics, right, and it's like 4.48 40 in high school. Your high school coach said you're one of the most explosive athletes he's ever seen in his life, right? You come through the hole and you see a linebacker sitting there, and you're like, I run a 4.48 and I'm the biggest dude on the field.
And I'm bigger than that guy.
What's going through your head?
Oh, I'm gonna run through him. That was like my thought
Or
process.
jump over him.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna try to run through him the first time just because I want him to feel my presence.
Yeah.
And the second time, he's gonna think about it a little more.
He
And I can
gonna
run
think,
around
yeah.
him. So
Assert dominance on that motherfucker right the gate.
Freak.
100%.
Yeah.
You guys got one more each, Tyler?
I got one more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So outside of the Horseshoe, what are your top 2 or 3 venues that you played in college?
Oh man,
Great question.
yeah, it's a really good question. I love Camp Randall. I mean, that stadium gets so pumped up when they play that Jump Around song. I mean, Camp Randall was a tough place to play at nighttime.
We need to go
yeah.
there
In that
sometime.
environment.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People say Penn State, right?
I was gonna say Penn
The
Penn
whiteout
State.
at Penn State's
The
usually.
whiteout is crazy.
So I experienced the whiteout. It didn't do nothing for me, man. It wasn't.
All right.
I mean, one thing was cool is when you get off the bus, right? Their fans are right there, so they can like at arm's length, and they can talk
Bark
shit. They
at
can
you.
throw whatever at you.
Yeah.
That is actually cool, a cool intimidating factor.
Yeah.
But I actually love playing at Washington.
Really?
That stadium was loud as hell. It's so loud, right off the water. The fans got rowdy. I enjoyed playing there.
Nice.
Interesting.
Thanks for sharing that.
I think you just like the West Coast, man.
Yeah. Always in there.
So when you're in the NFL, like, who's one player that you were around that you were like, this motherfucker's just a dog and they have the work ethic and I want to like copy this player?
Oh, Larry Fitzgerald by far.
It's like he's like the definition of a pro,
Yeah,
ain't it?
he is, man. So the start of my rookie year, I get in there, I get to Arizona, and Ohio State had this rule to where we were on a quarter system. So if your quarter wasn't up, you couldn't leave. So when I got drafted, I had to stay behind. And most kids, when they get drafted, they're able to go out there for mini camp, training camp, and all that stuff, or mini camp and OTAs. So I wasn't able to because we were on a quarter system. I wasn't in school at the time, so I went out there. Larry Fitzgerald made me live with him. So I lived with him the start of my rookie year, and watching this dude work, there is a reason why he's one of the top 3-4 greatest receivers of all time. Not just because of his sheer ability, right? Because he works at it day in, day out. Him and Anquan Bolden are probably the 2 hardest working guys I've ever seen in my life. And it's a reason why those 2 guys were great and why they were able to have the success that they had during their careers, because they worked. I'm talking, Larry would catch the ball, whether it's a 2-yard hitch, run 100 yards, run right back and be ready for the next play. And then he's not dropping the ball.
No.
So that ain't going to happen. I mean, and if he does, he's going to put himself through some crazy-ass shit. So watching the greats be great, that's something that I enjoy, man. I enjoy it with a passion. I mean, Kurt Warner was my quarterback, another great Hall of Famer. So me getting an opportunity to be around these guys and to watch the little nuances that they have about themselves that separate them from the other guy was an incredible experience, man.
Well, I think it's just like business, right? When people can come through the doors and see under the hood, it's the same thing. You're like, why is Larry Fitzgerald great?
Right.
You were with 2 dudes gold jacketed up. Like, why is that? And you got to see it
Right.
day in and day out. That changes everything. And then you have to choose, do I want to be like that?
Right.
Because that's what it takes. And some people come and see the business and go, that's not for me.
Right.
And some people see the same type of thing. So it's like to be able to like witness that as a young guy, unbelievable.
That's crazy.
That's good. All right, so now we're going to Bucking Nuts news.
Okay.
So
Got
let's,
Cole.
all right, let's talk about
we
some
got,
Buckeyes
baby.
football. So
Okay.
I want to hit on spring ball, and then we'll get into the NFL draft, obviously. But spring ball just started, and we got a QB battle going on right now.
Okay.
So we got Devin Brown, and I don't know if you guys saw this. I thought this was an amazing move. He's wearing number 33 now.
Yeah.
So
He said that's like
strange.
original.
so he's wearing it from I think the first quarterback to get inducted in the Hall of Fame wore number 33, and he's been wearing it all throughout high school since he was a kid. So he's bringing that back, and honestly, how could you not want your quarterback wearing number 33? I mean, that's just a stud. For real. So you got that, and then he's battling against Kyle McCord, who is actually Marvin Harrison Jr.'s high school quarterback. They won 3 state championships together.
Let's go. Let's go.
So it's going to be interesting to see, like, what's all going on there. Obviously, Marvin Harrison is going to ball out either way, but,
Dog.
like, you know, what's your thoughts?
I had no idea Kyle McCord was his high school quarterback.
Yeah, dude, they won
I did
3
not
stadiums.
know that.
Yeah.
That's going to
Cole's research is bringing the game today.
Man.
Yeah, ever since the news
So
doing
they
this
already got
podcast.
that
Yeah.
connection. So
So the spring game going to be for real then? Because these
Dude,
guys are going to be battling?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's go.
Yeah, I can see it being a situation where the coaches, taking the black jerseys off of. Well, I don't know about taking the black jerseys off of them, but given a certain amount of plays where these guys are able to be hit and rattle a little bit because you want to see what you got in these guys.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing with these 2 quarterbacks is we've never, even in blowouts, we rarely got a chance to see our backup quarterback at Ohio State.
Yeah, facts.
So that's very unfortunate for us as fans now because we want to know what we got waiting in the wings,
And we don't know.
and we don't. So.
Yeah,
gonna
and
be
from what I've read, I guess it's like a super healthy battle. That's what they're saying. But
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
yeah. So
What the hell is a healthy battle?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
That's pretty PR is what that is.
all right, yeah. So let's go into the NFL draft. Obviously, C.J. Stroud, he's getting talked about a lot. What were your thoughts on C.J. at the
Oh,
draft?
he's a beast. CJ is a beast. I mean, I think if he plays the entire – there were some things, obviously, we were all wanting more out of CJ. We wanted to see him run the ball more.
Yeah. Take off.
Beanie, I wanted to see the last game every game.
Oh, my gosh.
If he –
I ain't even like an analyst, but are you kidding me? That's in there, and we ain't getting
and
it.
we ain't get it for 2
Like-
years? Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
So that was my problem with C.J. Stroud. He is past. The dude can spin the ball,
Yeah.
That's
and
without
he
question.
obviously is a gamer. He rose up against Georgia, but like, bro, if that's there, I was at the Michigan game.
Yeah.
The fuck was that at?
Because it was there.
Hell yeah.
It's close.
CJ played just last year like he played that last game, he wins the Heisman. He's
He wins the Heisman.
unquestioned number 1
Yes.
pick. If he plays the last 2 years like that, his wins 2 Heismans and is unquestioned number 1 pick, which is nuts. I mean,
He
just
got to be hearing that too. So
Right.
you would think that would transition when he goes to play.
Oh,
Because he's
100%.
like, okay, this is what I got to do
Yeah.
if I'm going to be the guy.
and he knows that's what he has to do now.
I would feel like, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, in the NFL, you got to be able to extend the play at quarterback. Period.
While he was getting interviewed at the draft, he said obviously leaving Ohio State was a tough decision. I think he waited until the last day. But could you imagine if because he never beat Michigan, which that's got to be on his mind, never won the Heisman, probably should have won it. If he returns this year, he's probably doing everything. He might win a natty.
yeah.
He's going to get a natty too.
Oh, for sure. And the fact that you got NIL in play, right?
Yeah.
So now you no longer have guys that really have to make the tough decision
To leave.
to leave. Because
money.
now, I mean,
It'd
you got
be
guys
easier to
making
stay.
$6 million
Oh, my
a
goodness.
year in college. I mean,
Yeah.
I can stick around a little bit.
Yeah,
and try to do what I want to do. I got this protection right here.
Right.
I'd be like, yo, call Express up. I need to get that deal. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Brian.
ante.
Hey, Brian. I need to get that deal.
Sure.
Cardell. I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Cole.
But yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Jackson Smith and Jigma, he balled out. I mean, they're talking about he might be the number 1 wide receiver off the board.
When I saw it was Chris Olave and I think maybe it was Marvin Harrison or who's that? Oh, no, Garrett Wilson. They was talking about that Jackson was the best athlete out of all of them.
Right.
And they was both drafted in the top 10.
And they're
But
both
they were
balling
sitting
out.
there. Yeah, and they're both balling out,
Right.
to Trey's point. And they were saying, that dude over there is better than us. We didn't get to see it last year. I mean, he got lit up in that first game. And it was obviously he had some problems with that. So we kind of got robbed of his last year, which kind of sucks. But I expect him to ball like crazy as soon as he gets in.
Beanie, what's your thoughts on this quarterback out of Florida now since he balled out the draft that he's like talking like he's the number 1 now?
So every year we have situations like this that arise. Right?
Colin said the same thing.
Every year to where a guy all of a sudden, they go through the film and this guy's amazing. But at the end of the day, I want to see it on Saturdays.
Yep.
I ain't see it on Saturdays with him. I mean, the guy had, 12 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, something like that? I mean,
13 interceptions?
it was something like that.
I
It
ain't
wasn't
heard
like
anything about that dude all season.
all season long because they were a pedestrian team.
Right.
And I know sometimes you can be in a situation that doesn't best showcase your ability. But as a quarterback, you control a lot of that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Time will tell.
Yeah. I mean, I said that, they were hyping up like Josh Rosen. They hyped up Sam Darnold. They hype up all these quarterbacks that you know is not going to be good.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be no different.
It might be interesting, though, if somebody bites into that, though, and then CJ drops somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe.
That'd be a
crazy.
big mistake.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would think so. Because if CJ did get the clue, then you're going to get a quarterback who's going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and look at the year that, who was it? Lamar Jackson was drafted, right? He waited 32nd pick after he proved what he was on film.
Oh, his last
Now y'all
season
had
at Louisville
questions.
was unbelievable.
Yeah. It's nuts.
He's still – Trey was brought this up early. He's still they still giving him problems, bro.
Which is crazy as hell.
He's
to me.
unproved it for how long?
Like, how often does a guy have to do this?
Come on, man.
Daniels from the Giants is getting $45 million a year. And you mean to tell me you can't give a guy who was an MVP, I think he has over 100 throwing touchdowns, like 60 rushing touchdowns. He has a winning record in the league. He's proved himself in the league, and you don't want to give him
And Deshaun got
his check?
$250 guaranteed and 45 massages. Sorry, had to do it. That's the clip right there.
Yep.
Sorry, Deshaun.
Bro, if I'm New York, I would let him walk and I would sign Lamar Jackson. New York went to the playoffs last year. Imagine what they could have did with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
they got Saquon Barkley in the backfield.
Oh,
and the
my
receivers that they got.
Gosh.
I don't get the league sometimes, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, so keep talking about this. What about what are the Jets doing? Are they going to get Aaron Rodgers? Should they go after Lamar? I mean, what are those guys
If I
going
was
to do?
the Jets, I'd be
if-
going after Lamar.
Hey,
Bring it
that'd
in.
be nice because the
Bring it
Jets
in.
they got a good core.
Yeah,
They
they
got a
got a
good young core. Yeah.
Yeah.
They got the running back. He got hurt, but I think I read something the other day that he'll be back week 1. They hope so.
Big
So,
market. You got Gary Vee acting crazy.
him
Like,
in
get
there.
Lamar to the
Yeah.
fucking Jets.
Get him.
Oh
there.
man, that'd be nasty.
Well,
I get why they would go after Aaron, though. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, the only thing that would leave me with questions with Aaron Rodgers is
Wash your hair, Aaron, first. That's what I need to see. But go ahead. Sorry.
how long is he going to play?
Yeah.
Good question.
That's going to be the only question mark.
that's
right
true.
Signing for a year right now,
Yeah, because
maybe.
I mean,
He's going to clip, what, $40 million a year, something
Oh, my
crazy?
gosh.
yeah, like the Jets got Sauce Gardner. They
Oh.
deep at running back. They got Garrett
They got
Wilson. I
Garrett
mean,
Wilson.
they got some dogs.
Yeah, no.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
That
no, I'd
Lamar
coach-
would
like to see
ball
Lamar.
out there, bro.
That'd be nice.
Be real nice.
But all right, is there anything else NFL wise we want to hit on, real quick? All right.
Wait, I want to ask Beanie a real quick question. So you was at Baltimore for a short period of time too, right?
So I went there to work out, and I tore my Achilles there.
That's where you got hurt at. Okay, so you never really got to experience the Baltimore
No,
culture.
no.
See that?
Nope.
Because you really is built for that system,
Oh, bro.
right?
If I could have been there from the start.
Been there.
I would
Because-
have loved it.
Oh man. Okay. All right. So go ahead,
That's
Cole.
good. All right, yeah. So cap off the Buckeye talk. We'll do another segment around the Oval. This is just an update on all things Buckeye sports
Okay.
right now. So we'll start out with the men's hockey team. Me and Trey went to the game last weekend
How was
against
that?
Penn State.
It was sick.
Dominated. Hit the over. I was pumped. Love that. So I was super pumped about that. But anyways, so they're advancing the Big Ten tournament semifinal game against Michigan. Michigan, I think, is ranked 4th in the nation. Buckeyes are 9th. It's going to be a huge game.
But Ohio State won when it was up at Cleveland, though, right?
Yeah, so
At the-
so a few
the
weeks
one at
ago,
Cleveland Stadium.
towards the end of the season, it was back-to-back in Columbus. The Buckeyes won in overtime in OT, and then they played inside the Brown Stadium. It was like
That was sick
It was like
looking.
50,000 people. It was like the most people at a Ohio State hockey game ever. But they won that game. So this is going to be a huge matchup. And then women's hockey team, shout out to them, defending national champs.
Shout out to them.
Number one seed in the women's hockey tournament right now, so that's good. Then to the baseball team, Cade Kern, shout out, he's balling out.
Cade's a dog.
So they just won the Frisco Classic. They went up against Mississippi State, who's the defending 2021 World Series champion. And then they played the runner-up Oklahoma of last year's, and they won that tournament. So
Damn.
shout out to them.
Dude, Coach
Get it
Mo, who came from TCU, is an animal. Everybody around the program that I know, I mean, this guy's got nothing but juice, bro. They love him. And shout out to my guy, Ashton Martin, signed to play as a sophomore. He's going to play at Ohio State baseball. One of the guys coming through here. So
heck yeah.
I'm paying a lot of attention to Ohio State baseball right now for sure.
Yep. Moving on to wrestling. Shout out to the wrestling team. They just had the Big Ten tournament last week. Sammy Sasso won that back-to-back. I think he's seeded second in the whole tournament this upcoming. Right. Romero made it to the championship.
Romero's awesome.
Yeah, Romero's a dude. On the basketball team, so the women's basketball lost to Iowa in the Big Ten championship, but that's after playing. They made this miraculous comeback against, I believe, Indiana. They were down 24, came back won, so shout out to them.
They were so good all year, too.
Yeah, real good.
Love to see that. And then the men's basketball team, they've been up and down. I've disowned them like 4 times. But they got a big dub last night against Wisconsin to advance. They were up by like 25. They almost blew it. I was getting nervous, but –
if they can win this championship of this tournament that we're in, does it change your mind on the season?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's been rough, man. It's been terrible. But I think it'd be a good caveat for them.
We're in the Bronny lottery right now, though.
That's right.
Bronny lottery.
Yeah. Well,
Bronny could be the star.
Yeah. All right. So just some coach talk. I was watching the game. Watching the game last night. My heart's racing up and down. I'm tweeting like, "Oh, this is so fun to watch." Then it's not so fun. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Chris Holtman after the game, the reporter's like, "Are you looking forward to?" They're playing Iowa today, right? They're like, "Are you looking forward to facing Iowa? Like, what do you think about there?" And instead of saying, "Yeah, we're gonna go dominate Iowa," he goes, I just really want to enjoy this game. I don't even want to think about Iowa right now, like all this stuff. No confidence. So whatever,
Bronny lottery.
Hate to see it. Yep.
What do you think about that? Like, is it because there's guys go straight to the G League. Obviously, like if Bronny goes to a team where he ain't one of the best players, then I know somebody's gonna draft him anyway because they're drafting LeBron on top of it, right? Which would be really hard for the kid. But it's like I feel like him coming to O State because he would get the attempts, like he's gonna get to play, makes in a brand that big. His dad already supports, Nike already supports, makes sense to me. If you go to another program where there's 9 guys better than you, I feel like that messes up this whole thing you got going on right now.
The only place that doesn't mess up is Kentucky. We see guys at Kentucky sit the bench and still be lottery picks.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only. I don't know how he does it down there, but he does it.
He keeps doing it.
It does make sense though. I mean, Ohio State's a wide open lane for you to go out and be productive out the gate.
You can go score 20 a game here probably.
100%.
And get the looks, and it makes sense for the brand, for the whole thing you got going on. So to me, I think it's a done deal. I think Bronny's coming here if he doesn't go like the G League route or something, or go overseas.
I'd love to see it.
Yeah, that would be awesome for Ohio State basketball.
100%.
I'd be here for it.
Yeah,
we need it. We need it. Yes.
Yeah, big time.
To Cole's point, we need it. Next segment is?
Yeah, so let's go into the Yoked Boyz Sports Betting segment. We're going to start out today with Athens' very own Mr. Tyler Treadway, big Bobcats guy. Give us the update.
Yeah, spring ball started for the Bobcats.
Nice.
Looking forward to the season. Shout out to D'Angelo. Shout out to Coach Miller. Shout out Coach Albin. All the dogs down there in Athens. The Bobcats should have a great year this year. We came off we should have won the MAC championship last year, but we lost. Quarterback tore his ACL the game before the final game. But, yeah, hopefully we get him back. We got some dogs on the team. I think we'll make some noise in the MAC. Hopefully, maybe make the college playoffs. I don't know.
Well, you guys also had a huge dub in the Barstool Bowl. That was an amazing game.
That was
huge dub.
That's pretty wild.
Backup quarterback. We come out. We show the world what Ohio University is about. You were talking about Chris Holtman, former OU basketball coach. I don't know what it is, but OU just breeds winners. So yeah, super excited.
Hey, Tyler is carrying the flag, bro. His family started taking him there when he was super young. So we made max effort. All the football guys take max effort supplements. Tyler leads that charge for the company. So he's down all up in OU all the time, loving
awesome,
it.
Man.
Yeah. So we should have a good year this year.
So what about the basketball team? How are they looking?
Basketball team plays today at 1:00. We play Ball State. Right now the game's a push. OU's half a point underdog, so just hammer that real quick.
Okay.
OU's going to win. So, fun fact, the last time OU was a 5 seed in the MAC tournament and Toledo was a 1 seed, OU won. So,
there it is.
don't discount the Bobcats. As I was going to tell you earlier, right? So, Chris Holtman was an assistant at OU before going to Ohio State from 2008 to 2010, which was when OU beat Georgetown Huge upset. So never discount the Bobcats in March. So Chris Holtman got the win yesterday. So I know Iowa's favored, but don't count out a Bobcat.
but
they're still
OU money line.
So you betting? What's your bet on that game?
today for OU.
Yeah.
Dub.
Okay.
OU money line.
OU money line. That's official.
What about the over-under?
Trey? All right.
You think it's going to be a tight defensive game? Over under? What should we look out for?
The over/under was set at like 151. You never know. OU scores about 76 points a game.
Okay.
So they could do it, but you know what? Maybe we just lock Ball State up. I don't know.
Okay.
You know,
He's
Ball
got it.
State's on a 4-game skid. Ball State's not very good.
Yeah.
Don't discount the Bobcats.
Give him the game, Trevway. Give him the game.
Other than that, the last Athens update, you know, shout out to Athens' very own Joe Burrow.
Yep.
Dog.
Hoping for a good offseason. You know, there's a lot of things that could happen for the Bengals to become a real dynasty this offseason. You know, there's all the talk about what receivers they'll be able to keep. T. Higgins, you know, everyone's trying to pry him away. I think Burrow will end up restructuring his deal. Or he'll get a deal that's team friendly, and they'll be able to keep all those guys. They're talking about Ohio State. I don't know if you want to call him legend, but Eli Apple.
I think he might be infamous.
He's a free agent, so they're talking about a couple guys, but I think that they could really have a good offseason.
I got to talk about Eli. His Twitter shit was out of control.
You gotta calm
For
down.
the dude that gets burnt that much.
You gotta calm down.
Like,
Man.
my kid, I mean, Annan's going to be 12. He collects cards. He's like, Dad, why is everybody so open whenever they go against Eli Apple? You always talking smack. But the dude been in the league forever. He obviously shows value, but then the Twitter shit was a little bit much.
Bro, it's like he has the supreme confidence, and he always makes that one play that almost erases all the other shit.
Yeah,
Exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Tyler, you got any bets on
The
tap?
betting this weekend, I'm taking it easy. The Players Championship golf tournament going on. I'm just going Scheffler. I'm keeping it simple.
Okay,
just going
Scotty Scheffler?
Yeah, it's like $1,200
How much you
right
putting
now.
on there?
Okay.
Oh shoot, man! Like easy $20.
Okay,
Yeah, keep
all
it
right.
simple. Keep it simple. And then you just watch all weekend, and if you lose $20 because he makes a foul shot, it's what it is.
Yeah, all right. Trey, I know you got a gang of
Yeah, so
parlays.
what I think is really exciting right now is the NBA. So like
Yeah.
NBA Western Conference is very exciting right now because of like the play-in for the playoffs and everything. So like the Lakers are sitting like 9th seed right now. So like and they don't have LeBron. So like the Western Conference is just super interesting because almost every team in the Western Conference could hypothetically make the playoffs. And as well as that, a lot of players are injured. So like LeBron's out for the Lakers, Luka's dealing with an injury, KD. So it's really interesting to see kind of like how the NBA is going to play out this year and everything. But I kind of like if KD, as long as KD comes back healthy, I'm liking the Suns for the championship this year.
Really?
All right.
What do y'all think about the Kyrie Luka? Like,
It's not working. So they're Kyrie and Luka are 3-6 so far.
Okay.
So-
I only
That's
saw
early.
like a half, like
Yeah.
one half, and they
Yeah,
both
so
had,
like super,
20
so like
and
super interesting. So like
Yeah.
since the Kyrie and Luka trade, the Mavs have gotten worse, as well as then if you look at the Clippers
got worse.
and
The
Lakers
Lakers
trade,
got yeah.
Clippers got worse, Lakers got a lot better. Russell Westbrook effect.
I still see Kyrie, Kyrie going to some way, somehow end up in L.A.
Yeah,
Lakers.
I would agree with that.
next year.
I mean, in Dallas, it's too much isolation ball between those two guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have anybody crashing the boards, getting
Right.
rebounds, so
Right.
that project is not going to work.
They like
Certified from Beanie ain't working.
they have to score 40 every night. You know?
Yeah. Well, they both dropped 40 apiece and they're still
That's what
losing.
I'm saying.
Damn.
Like it's crazy.
Yeah, but there's a lot of one-on-one happening.
Right.
You got to run offense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I'm curious, so I want Trey's and Trey's input. So I've been watching Ted Lasso lately.
Okay.
I would not say I'm a huge soccer guy, but I'm getting to the spirit. I really like the chants. I think it's a great effect. I think more sports should do that. So I'm very curious. You know, we got the Columbus Crew in Columbus. I want to rep. So what should I be looking out for with the Crew, Trey?
The Crew are a fantastic team, right? We have a lot of very skilled offensive players. We just fired our previous coach, brought in a new guy, started off the season with an ugly loss, but then we're at home for the home opener last weekend and got a win 2-0 over so the coach for DC United's Wayne Rooney, who's like one of the greatest soccer players of all time. So it's cool to do that. So we play Toronto this weekend. Looking for another dub. But the Crew will be good. The guys to look out for, Cucho Hernandez, he was a Premier League striker. He came over. Lucas Zelarayan.
Lucas.
Yeah.
Dog.
We got some guys.
Are there any like cool chants the crew do?
Yeah.
No
the whole
experience
game
with a
you
football guy.
chant. You chant the whole game.
Oh,
Treadway's front row chant.
Yeah, can
I've
you
gone
take
with them
Cole to
before.
a game,
Yeah.
please?
Yeah.
You sit, they put out this yellow smoke, and you're
Okay.
like in the sea of yellow smoke, just like yelling at
This is
players.
amazing.
He loves it.
Yeah,
I feel like we
oh,
need
I'm
to do
sure.
some like live content there.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Can you get this man a
Yeah.
scarf?
We should all
and take him to a
get
soccer
like
game?
we should all get Nordex seats one time. And
Yeah,
all go
yeah.
together.
No, do they wear eye black? Is eye black a thing? in soccer?
You can make it a thing.
Yeah, because I see, and also you call the jerseys kits. I really like that.
Yeah.
That's a
The
term.
cleats are called boots. The
Oh.
field is called a pitch.
Yep.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Boom, you got any betting stuff? What you looking at?
Man, I was over here looking at it right now, just at some of the NBA games. So I like the Pacers over the Rockets tonight. They're favored by minus 9.5. I would just take the money on that though, just to be safe, because they're two teams that's they're not great.
Yeah.
You know, they struggle. It's just kind of two bad teams, and also the same thing with the Hornets and the Pistons. But I would definitely go with the Hornets tonight because the Pistons just absolutely suck. Then you got the Jazz playing the Magic. I would take the Magic money line. Then you got the Warriors with the Grizzlies. I would take the money line with the Warriors because
Is Ja bringing his gun?
John Morant. Hey, he beat the case. He's out. He's got like 4 games and he's back basically.
Oh my gosh.
Ja strapped on that one.
Yeah.
What the fuck is he doing?
And it's just basketball players. They just be shot creators on and off the court.
you got Sean Kemp.
See what you're doing there, Trey.
Yeah, Sean Kemp too. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Shot creators on and off. The
Oh,
You had
that
that
was
one on your
good.
Twitter draft.
You said that with a straight face
You
too.
make a meme on that one.
Yeah, yeah. Said that with a straight face.
Yeah.
So good.
So then the last 2 games is you get the Nets and the Bucks. I would go money line with the Bucks, and then with the New York Knicks and Sacramento Kings, I would probably take the
That's gonna be a
Knicks
good
plus
game.
2 plus
That's gonna be a good game.
2.5.
Yeah.
The
I would
Knicks
take the
are for
Knicks.
real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Knicks are
yeah.
legit this year. But the Kings are also good this year. The Kings
Yeah.
Kings are second seed in the Western Conference.
That's crazy.
Which is fucking crazy.
That is
That's
crazy.
crazy.
They ain't been good since Vlade Divac
Yeah.
was the.
They're lighting the beam.
So you got 6 games there, $10. If you want to do $10, it'll win you $108.
There you go. I
That's
heard
nice.
I need that
Stack it
$10 to 1 million.
I know.
it. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. We're gonna get that. We're gonna get that. Cool.
I think we about hit on
Yeah.
everything. So
It was good. Basically, where should everybody follow?
follow the real Boomcast. Hey, listen, follow our Instagram. Shout out, tag your homies in Twitter.
Yep.
You know, game days we'll be down there. You know, get an autograph with Boom, everything.
Yeah.
Change
Let 'em
the
know.
name, whatever.
Let 'em know.
Follow our YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff.
Shout out to everybody. You know, listen, share it with your friends. We are officially about to take over with this podcast. The guests that we have lined up is
Yeah.
about to be crazy.
Yeah.
We're going to get better at the betting, hit these huge
Yes, right.
parlays, get that motherfucking money.
Yeah.
This was
Yeah.
the Boomcast. Wrap it up.
Yeah. All right. So intro.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, sure. Let's run it back. Let's run it back.
Hey, go Bucks.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
right. Go Bucks. All right. Let's vibe.
There it is. There it is.
That was a good episode, Trey. Right?
Amazing.
We're definitely
episode.
going to get popped for that
It was
one.
an
Yeah.
extreme episode.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Buckeyes of all ages, you have just tuned into episode 1 of the Boomcast. With your host, NFL vet, Buckeye legend, Mr. Daniel Boom Herron. Accompanied by the Boom Squad, we got Mr. Corey Gregory. Over here, we got the Tyler and Tyler Sports Zone, Mr. Tyler Treadway, Athens' very own, Mr. Tyler Sea Lover. Of course, here at the Doghouse, I'm the graphic gangster Cole Susak. To my right is the king of Web3, Trayvon Dare. And today, we had special guest running back, Buckeye legend on Mr. Beanie Wells. Yeah. This has been the Boomcast. Share it with your friends. We are out.